जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन। यमुना तीरावनचारी। यमुना तीरावनचारी। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। जय राधा गोलोकानंद राधा गोलोकानंद राधे। जय राधा गोलोकानंद राधा गोलोकानंद राधे। प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश्री श्रीमद् शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। व्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा देवी जमुना देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। युग धर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। बृहद मृदंग ट्रांसेंडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। श्री श्री राधा गोलोकानंद की जय। श्री गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय। पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga, and all glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. So is it 37? Is it 30? Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishnapristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Prasharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 69, entitled Narada Visits Krishna's Palaces. Text 37. Atho vacha Rishikesham Naradaha Prahasan Iva Yogamayodayam Vikshya Manushim Iyusho Gatim Atho vacha Rishikesham Atho vacha Rishikesham Narada Prahasan Iva Narada Prahasan Iva Yogamayodayam Vikshya Yogamayodayam Vikshya Manushimi Yusho Gatim Manushimi Yusho Gatim Atho vacha Rishikesham Narada Prahasan Iva Yogamayodayam Vikshya Manushimi Yusho Gatim. Please kindly chant. Vaishnavis, please. Atha, thereupon, Uvacha said, Rishikesham to Lord Krishna, Narada, Narada, Prahasan, laughing, Eva, mildly, Yogamaya, of his spiritual, bewildering potencies. Udayam, the unfolding. Vikshya, having seen. Manushim, human. Iyushaha, who was assuming. Gatim, ways. Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. Having thus seen this display of the Lord's Yogamaya, Narada mildly laughed and then addressed Lord Rishikesha, who was adopting the behavior of a human being. Purport. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Narada fully understood the Lord's omniscience, and thus when he saw the Lord trying to find out the moods of his ministers moving about in disguise, Narada could not help laughing. But remembering the Lord's supreme position, he somewhat constrained his laughter. Before I begin, I seek the blessings of His Holiness Pir Krishna Goswami Maharaj and all the senior Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis here. May the right words come at the right time, in the right mood of glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam and purifying our hearts. Vancha kalpatrubhyascha. Hare Krishna. So this is supremely wonderful, that when the Lord appears as Matsya Avatar, or as Kurma Avatar, Varaha Avatar, or Narsimha Avatar, it's very easy to recognize that He's God. When was the last time we saw a tortoise who has back this big and this huge and gigantic and humongous that a whole mountain is put on the top, and he's able to balance it in the churning of the milk ocean? The Bhagavatam describes when the mountain was placed on the back of the tortoise, Kurma Avatar, and the churning began. It was so comforting for the tortoise that he fell asleep. It's almost like someone is giving us a body massage. Someone massages our shoulders and our back and our legs, and we feel so relaxed. Imagine a whole churning process going on, which is so important for the demigods and the demons. Everything depends on that. They want all the nectar of the ocean. And the Lord, who's underneath, balancing the whole thing, He falls asleep. So it's very easy to know that He's God. Superhuman, supernatural. Then when we... Oh, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Then when we see the manifestation of Varahadev, again it's very easy to understand that he's God. Because he lifts up the whole Mother Earth when Mother Earth is toppled her off her orbit and she falls into the Garbhodaka ocean. In the form of a wild boar, the Lord appears and balances Mother Earth between his tusk. So it's wonderful to see that form. Or the form of a fish, where slowly but surely he expands and he becomes very huge. Or whether it's the form of Narasimha Dev, where he breaks the pillar in the middle of an assembly hall with the roaring that made millions of dollars even in Kali Yuga. Maha-avatar, Narasimha. The roaring was so amazing that Brahma started hiding behind the pillar. Lord Shiva started hiding behind the pillar. When the time came for Narasimha Dev's anger being pacified, no one was ready because he was so fear-inducing.
Lakshmi Devi said, I don't recognize him. I've never seen him before. And Lord Shiva, who is the Lord of destruction and anger, he was getting destroyed in his heart. The anger of Lord Nrsingadev was eclipsing the anger of annihilation of Rudra. And he was hiding behind the pillar. And Brahma was hiding behind the pillar because he knows now next after Hiranyakashipu, the Lord may chase me down for giving Hiranyakashipu the benediction in the first place. Half man, half lion. Not inside the house or outside the house or in the air or in the sky or in water or man or human or weapons or hand. It's too much. It's a tailor-made costume. Everyone's scared. And Prahlad Maharaj folds his palms, climbs up the stairs and pacifies the Lord. The point we're trying to make in all of these incarnations, it's very easy to understand that this is not me. This is not human. This is not ordinary, this is extraordinary. Now the twist is when the Lord comes in a human form. When he comes as Bhagavan with 4 hands, with a conch shell in his hand and a disc in his hand and a club in his hand, and he appears as Mahavishnu, everyone bows down. But when he appears as Ramachandra, when he appears as Krishna Chandra, when he appears as Gaura Chandra, that's where the confusion is. Because he appears so human that we end up thinking he's like me. But still the Lord leaves a lot of signs and evidence for his godly nature. For example, in Rama Avatar, when Jatayu departed, when Jatayu sacrificed his life in trying to save Mother Sita, Sri Ramachandra embraced Jatayu and loudly proclaimed, Jatayu, I the son of Dasharath, loudly and proudly proclaim that I have a spot ready for you in Vaikuntha. Now no human can promise that, because even his own spot is not assured. Another place where we see Ramachandra leaving traces of divine evidence is building a bridge. Well, humans also build bridges across oceans, but not floating stone bridges, please. When was the last time we saw stones floating? No structural engineering, no idea of civil engineering, absolutely no map made, no blueprint made, no softwares used. You have monkeys tossing stones into the ocean and they all float and connect to one another and form a bridge where the whole army crosses. This is divine. Another example in Rama Avatar we see is when Indra's son, his name was Jayanta. Jayanta came as a crow and he sat on the body of Mother Sita and he started pecking and she started to bleed. He came as a crow, the son of Indra, thought Mother Sita to be just another woman and thought of having her proximity, sat as a crow and pecked on her and she started bleeding. Sri Ramachandra felt so angry at this crow bird that he picked up a blade of grass and empowered that grass to be more powerful than the thunderbolt of Indra. And that grass thunderbolt chases the crow in the 14 planetary systems. Now think about a crow flying in 14 planetary systems. The son of Indra as a crow comes to Indra and says, Dad, help me. I need your help. And Indra says, don't come to me. I have enough problems to solve myself. I have too many pastimes and too many controversies that I have to solve myself. You didn't ask my permission before you started this pastime. I can't help you. Narada Muni intercepts the path and tells Jayanta, why don't you go back to the lotus feet that you offended? Go back to Mother Sita and she will forgive you. And that's what happened. So the first evidence was Jatayu being promised Vaikuntha. Second evidence is Sri Ramachandra building a bridge of floating rocks. Third evidence was Sri Ramachandra empowering a blade of grass to make it into a thunderbolt. Humans can't do any of this. Fourth evidence, connected to the building of the bridge again. Sri Ramachandra sits to meditate, praying to the Lord of the ocean. Of course, all of these examples are not in the same chronology of the Ramayana, but we are just hinting to some of these pastimes. Sri Ramachandra meditates on the ocean lord, Varun Devata, begging him for a path so that he can cross the ocean and go to Lanka. Now, after 7 days of meditation, the ocean lord doesn't give way. So Sri Ramachandra, with all fury, with all anger, glances at the ocean, and the ocean starts to boil. And the Lord of the ocean comes out. He says, "My dear Lord, please forgive me, please forgive me." Ramachandra said, "Why didn't you give me way?" And Varun Devata said, "It's quite confusing, my dear Lord. You have come as a human being. And I don't give way for human beings even if they meditate for 7 days. Now suddenly, you changed the gear and you became God. And you started boiling my surface with your glance. Humans, when they even look at a cup of water, they can't boil it with their glance. What to speak of boiling an whole ocean with glance?" Varuna said, "My dear Lord, if you're appearing to be a human, then I have to be a demigod, and I don't give way. But now if you switch gears, if you turn the mode on, the God mode on, then, my dear Lord, I am your servant. And this is all yours." Now the fifth evidence from the Ramayana, talking about how the Lord comes as a human, and we'll talk about Krishna Leela also and Gaura Leela also. Comes as a human, but leaves traces of divinity there. Enough evidence for us to understand. Now, fifth evidence from the Ramayana is when Sri Ramachandra is crying in separation from Mother Sita. Now, it's quite bewildering. The start of the Bhagavad Gita is, "O Arjun, don't feel attachment for your family." And here is the same Lord who spoke the Bhagavad Gita later as Krishna, now as Ram. He's feeling separation from his wife Sita. And in the Valmiki Ramayana, you have chapters after chapters of Sri Ramachandra feeling separation and weeping and crying and asking the trees, asking the sky, asking Mother Earth, "Where is my beloved Sita? Oh Sita, where did you go?" Seeing which, Lord Shiva in Kailas, he offers obeisances. And Mother Sati or Parvati, who's sitting next to Lord Shiva, she looks at her master and she says, "Whom are you offering obeisance to? Whom are you bowing down to?" And Lord Shiva says, "I am bowing down to God." And Sati or Parvati, she has some doubt in her mind. The same doubt that kills us for lifetimes. Samshayatma vinashyati. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's described, if we have doubt, then on the path of spiritual life, we are out. Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes that. If there's doubt, then we are out. The thorn of doubt has to be kicked out. So Sati, she tells Lord Shiva, "Okay, I'll be back soon. I'll just go for a walk and I'll be back." And she steps down in the garb of Mother Sita. And she walks straight to Sri Ramachandra, who's feeling separation. And Ram looks through her. She's coming walking through, looking at Sri Ram, smiling. And Sri Ram looks through her and still continues to search. "Oh Sita, where are you? Oh Sita, where did you go? Why did you leave me?" And in whichever direction he would turn, she would come there. And she would say, here I am, here I am. And he would just look through her and continue his search. And after some time, he looked at Sati, Mother Parvati, and said, "Dear mother," this is Ramachandra, "Dear mother, what are you doing all by yourself in this forest? Where is Lord Shiva?" And she looks at Sri Ram and she says, "Oh, I'm glad you recognized me." And Sri Ramachandra said, "You can come in any outfit, dear mother. I will recognize you. You are my mother." She looked at Sri Ramachandra and she said, "I was feeling so bad that you're feeling separation from Sita that I thought of dressing up as Sita to pacify you." And Sri Ramachandra said, oh mother, do you really think I'm in separation from my wife? If you think so, here I am. And at that very moment in that same forest, Sati had a vision of Ram sitting on the throne of Ayodhya with Sita next to her, being fanned by Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrughna and Hanuman. They're all serving the divine couple Sita Ram who are sitting in the throne of Ayodhya. And Sri Ramachandra looked at Sati and said, although I appear to be humanly or human-like, I am Sri Ram, the Lord of this world. And I am never separated from Sita. This is just a pastime. And the very next moment, Sri Ramachandra is by himself in the forest. Sita, where are you? And Sati came back to Kailash. And Lord Shiva looked at her and said, where were you? And she said, well, I just went to have darshan of the Lord. I went and offered my obeisances to God who has appeared as Sri Ram. So in all of these evidences we see, although Sri Ramachandra appears humanly or human-like, but he's God. You find in Krishna Leela, although Krishna looks and seems like a quote-unquote mere ordinary human being with 2 eyes and 2 hands and 2 feet, it's unbelievable that a 7-year-old child floats up a whole mountain hill. And it's not on both hands. It's not like Hercules who's holding on to the whole universe, or Atlas. You see all of these Greek and Roman designs where you see some of the other great personality holding the whole universe on his back, and he has a face like this. He's not very happy. And here is Krishna lifting up the whole hill, Prabhupada writes, like a child holds up a mushroom. Not with both hands, but with one hand, not with the left hand, but with the pinky, the tip of the pinky of the left hand. That's showing Indra, who do you think you are? After 7 days of rain shower, Indra was asking his men, I hope the whole of Vrindavan is destroyed. And the men came down and they looked under the hill and party going on. Kirtan going on, there's dancing going on, there's beautiful dice game being played. They're playing flute and instruments and garlands are being strung. There are jeweled stairways and water sports and swing pastimes, all of this happening under the hill. And the men come back to Indra and say, we thought we are having party. We thought we are destroying them. But this water is nothing compared to the flood of the rain shower of bliss which is pouring under the hill. And this child is holding the whole hill by himself. So whenever Srila Prabhupada would speak about men trying to imitate Krishna's Rasa Leela, Srila Prabhupada would say, why don't you try holding up the hill first? Or like Lord Shiva, why don't you try drinking poison? Krishna was sipping forest fire. Think about that. We like mango drink. Krishna likes to sip in the mango flames of the forest fire only to help his friends. And it's quite interesting, Krishna tells all his friends, please close your eyes. Why? Because in the past, they saw him eat mud. And there was a big hue and cry, there was a big controversy. Oh dear Yashoda, your son has eaten mud. Imagine now they seeing Krishna swallowing forest fire. That'll be another uproar. So I want to swallow it, but all of you please close your eyes. Some acharyas also write, instead of sipping in Krishna, he blew the forest fire like a child would blow off the birthday candle. Next time you see a child, happy birthday. Where does that idea come from? It comes from Krishna, who first blew off the whole forest fire like a little child blowing off the flame on the candles on a birthday cake. Another wonderful evidence of Krishna's godly nature is showing the whole universe in his mouth. And it was not Mother Yashoda hallucinating, it was for real, because he did it multiple times. As a baby, once he Very casually he yawned, and Mother Yashoda, Krishna was an infant, and she looked at Krishna's mouth and she saw the whole universe. But it was just for a split second. So she had some doubt whether that was a dream or she was hallucinating or whether it was for real. And Krishna wanted to prove, oh Maya, what you actually saw, you will see again because it is for real. Think of the time when Brahma saw so many Vishnus, where Krishna manifested as a four-handed form, not once, but many, many forms, for all the boys, all the calves. And Brahma offered obeisances. Krishna, you're not just God, you're also the root of all Vishnu Tattvas. It's quite interesting. Srila Jiva Goswami Pad writes, Brahma saw so many Vishnus there, but he didn't bow down to anybody. He bowed down to a cowherd boy. And he called Naumi Idya. Idya means worshipable. He doesn't say, oh Vishnu, I bow down to you. He bows down to a cowherd boy saying, you are not just God, you're also the source of all Vishnus. And at the same time, the boys who are friends of Krishna, they're looking from a distance. Who is this four-headed person in Vrindavan? We have never seen someone with four faces. Who is this person and how does our friend Krishna know him? And when did they meet and befriend each other? Seems like they're having a long conversation. And Brahma is offering prayers and Krishna looks at Brahma and says, I really have to go and play. Can you wrap it up quick? And Krishna's looking at his friends and the friends are looking at Krishna. What's going on? Krishna said, 2 more minutes. And Brahma has so many prayers to offer. Krishna was being glorified and Krishna didn't like it. And Brahma at that point said, Aho bhagyam, Nanda Gopa Vrajaukasam, Yan Mitram Paramanandam, Purnam Brahma Sanatanam. Oh Krishna, how fortunate, he says it twice, Brahma. How fortunate. Who is fortunate? The Brajbasis are fortunate because they have befriended you, who is God. And with the second fortunate, you are so fortunate to have found devotees like the Brajbasis. Because Krishna doesn't get that in Vaikuntha. He doesn't get that anywhere except Vrindavan. So Krishna, you're fortunate and they're fortunate. When Krishna heard Brajbasis, Vrajaukasam, that's when it sparked some interest. And he looked at Brahma and he said, continue, don't stop. Brahma said, but I thought you have to go and play. Krishna said, no, continue. Now that you've started speaking nectar, the glories of my devotees, now continue. And you can see for a few verses after, Brahma continues to glorify Vrindavan, and that catches Krishna's attention. So the point of our discussion was how Krishna showed divinity by expansive nature of the four-handed form. Another wonderful example of Krishna's divinity is expanding himself into millions and billions of forms in the Rasa Leela. It is described there was one Krishna dancing with one Sri Radharani. As Sri Radharani expanded into gopis, Krishna also expanded as Krishna. And it's quite interesting in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ye yatham mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. As you approach me, I will reciprocate. And that principle goes through even in the Rasa Leela. If Sri Radha, you expand for me, I will expand for you. And Krishna expands. It is described by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Shatakoti gopi madhavaman rakhite nari lo kori jatan venu gite dake radhika nam esho Shri Radhe dake sham. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He says, how many gopis were there? Shata Koti. Billions and billions of gopis. And Shata Koti Gopi Madhava Man Rakhite Narilo Korila Jatan. They all tried to attract Krishna's heart, but Krishna was attracted only to one gopi, Sri Radharani. And he was dancing with the gopis because they were expanded forms, Kaya Vyuha expansions of Sri Radha. As soon as Sri Radharani left and Krishna left behind her, the whole Rasa Leela stopped. Although there were billions of gopis. So if someone thinks Krishna is a mere mortal who's quote-unquote lusty, then why would he leave the Rasa Leela? There's only one gopi who has left, but there are a billion gopis there. No. Krishna as God, he only wants genuine affection. Sri Radharani's pure, unadulterated devotion is what attracts Krishna. So when Radharani left, Krishna left with her. And at that time it's described Yamuna, the banks of Yamuna also expanded. Supernatural. Now when you go to Vrindavan, we see it's crowded and there's traffic and population explosion in Kartik. The lanes are so small and there are 10 billion people there. But during Krishna's time, when the gopis were dancing, there was no problem. There's no instance where the gopis, while dancing, they didn't have enough space and they accidentally slipped into the Yamuna or something like that. You never see anything like that. The dham is super wonderful, like Krishna. Like Krishna expands, the dham, space expands, even time expands. The moon got stuck there for the night of Brahma. That doesn't happen for human beings. That happens for God. That happens for Krishna. So this is with respect to Krishna Leela. Now in Gaura Leela, we see, although he's again human-like, he's completely transcendental. He's Bhagavan. And the example that we see is the Mahaprakash Leela. The 21 hours of transcendental manifestation where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed all avatars. He became Ramachandra for Murari Gupta, who is a manifestation or the incarnation of Hanuman. Similarly, he became Vishnu. He sat on the altar of Vishnu. For Advaita Acharya, he showed the universal form. Similarly, you find for Ramananda Rai, he showed the form of non-different manifestation of Radha and Krishna. For Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed the six-handed form, where two hands of Krishna playing on the flute, two hands of Ramachandra holding the bow and the arrow, and two hands for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu holding the sannyas danda and a water pot, a kamandalu. That's not possible for human beings to do. And again, in the place called Koladweep, in the 9 islands of Navadweep. Koladweep is one of the islands. And Kola means Varahadev, the wild boar. So that is the place where a great Vipra, a great Brahmana by the name Vasudev, in Satya Yuga, he was meditating, he was a pure devotee of Varahadev. He would roll on the ground calling out to Varahadev. It's rare to find that level of display of love for Varahadev. It's possible, but it's rare. So in Satya Yuga, this Brahmana called Vasudev, he was rolling on the ground having darshan of, or calling out to Varahadev. And Varahadev manifested to him in that same place of Navadweep, in Satya Yuga. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes this in a book called Navadweep Dham Mahatmya. And Varahadev appeared and said, "Don't you worry. You will appear again in Kali Yuga, and I will appear as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and I will show this form as Varahadev to you." And in that same place, in Kali Yuga, Vasudeva appeared, and he had a water pot that he used for his worship. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he gave him darshan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came as a wild boar, as Varahadev, and lifted the water pot of this Vasudev on his tusk, in the mood that I'm lifting Mother Earth. And looked at Vasudeva and said, "Do you remember me? I am the same Lord whom you've been worshipping for lifetimes. I appeared to you as Varaha in Satya Yuga, and now I appear to you as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kali." When Srivas Thakur was chanting the Vishnu Sahasranam, and he came to the point of Narasimha Vapu Shriman Keshava Purushottamaha, when he called out to the 1,000 names of Vishnu, and one of the names was Narasimha. When he said, "Narasimha Deva Ki Jai," when Srivas said this, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became a golden lion with 16 arms, with a chakra in his hand, with bow and arrow, with a sword, with a club, with a conch shell, with a lotus. And he gave darshan to Srivas as Narasimhadev. This is not possible for human beings. Another example in Gaura Leela is when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu manifested 7 forms while dancing in the Rath Yatra. There were 7 groups of devotees all doing kirtan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became 7 forms of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just like Krishna expanded in the dancing, Rasa Leela in Krishna Leela, Mahaprabhu expanded as Gaura Chandra in the Rasa Leela of the Kirtan in the Rath Yatra of Jagannath. And it's interesting, just like every gopi in Rasa Leela thought Krishna's dancing only with me. Every group of devotee, they thought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing only with me. But on the top of it all, Maharaj Pratap Rudra was looking and he saw Mahaprabhu dancing in all 7 parties. This is amazing. And finally, to conclude, we find in the Ante Leela where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in transcendental ecstasy, trying to find Krishna, he would escape the Gambhira. Now the Gambhira is a room in the house of Kashi Mishra in Jagannath Puri. And Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, they would protect Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at night, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would hurt himself, calling out to Krishna, sometimes bleeding from his face while rubbing it against the wall, calling out to Krishna. Sometimes escaping in the middle of the night, trying to seek out where is Krishna. So Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, they would have 3 doors to the Gambhira, and they would have it locked so that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't escape. But it's quite interesting, even with 3 doors and 3 locks, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Yogeshwar, who's the Lord of all mystic potency, he would become smaller than an atom and escape through those doors and still go and find Krishna. He would be fallen at a Goshala. When he would look at cows, that would be such a strong stimulant, he would be found there frothing from his mouth, seeking Krishna's association. At other times, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would assume the form of a tortoise, Kurmadev. So the class started with Kurmadev, and the class is ending with Kurmadev. The first Kurmadev is Kurmadev as Narayan. And the Kurmadev that we are discussing is Gaur Kurma, or Kurma Chaitanya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would pull his arms within his body and would be like a tortoise shell. Humans can't do that. He would sometimes elongate his body with his bones completely dislocated from the joints, elongated 10 feet tall, with the mood, Krishna, where are you? I want to embrace you. And at the same next moment, he would think, in humility, Krishna can't embrace me. I am so fallen. So he would contract his body like a tortoise. He would go elongated to embrace Krishna, and the very next moment, shrink inwards as a tortoise out of humility. Humans can't do that. And why we are saying all this is because in this pastime, Narad Muni is smiling. He looks at Krishna's omniscience and at the same time, Krishna's human-like behavior. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Adipurusham Tamahamba Shalim. Namaho Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Samaniti Amade. Namaste, Saraswati Devi, Gaurvani Vajane Visesha, Shunyavare, Vasachare, Zatarane. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gauranga Sivasati Gauraturinda Chaitanya Krishna Nirana Brahmanichananda Dvaita Gauranga Sivasati Gauraturinda. Chaitanya Brahmanichananda Dvaita Gauranga Sivasati Gauraturinda. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sadashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanana Bhaktivinoda Goswami Shila Prabhupada Vijaya Guracharya Shilabhama Nandakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Vijaya Kalinamacharya Shilahariya Sadhu Ram Say Gaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Ram Nityananda Shivaya Paz Sivo Bhakti Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gauranga Sai Madhura Radhakunda Ki Gauranga Vrindavan Vijaya Vijaya Swami Vijaya Himani Glasi Vijaya Bhakta Vijaya Gaur Vrindavan all glories to Swami all glories to be Swami all glories to be Swami all glories to Shri Guru Gauranga
Chaitodarpanamarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vijavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Paramijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shakti Tatrapitani Amita Smarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakriba Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vapada Pankaja Stita Duli Shajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galarshu Daraya Varanam Gad Garudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyava Padamartamanastumam. Thank you. Ashanam Hotirva Yatatata Vavanadatulam Pato Mat Prananatas Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. Oh, Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh, my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to approach you by your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and to be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms